Friday the 13th, a day commonly associated with horror stories. Can we please turn the light back on? Please? Hi everyone, Fina here from Fina Reads. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. Today on this Friday the 13th with horror book recommendations for scaredy cats like me. I love horror as a genre. It's something that I discovered not too long ago. I haven't read horror for the longest time because I always thought it's stuff jumping out at you, you know, with ghosts, ghosty vibes, alien abductions, that kind of stuff. And a couple of years back, I realized that's not all the horror genre has to offer. And there's actually some really cool stuff that doesn't completely freak you out and requires you to hide underneath a cover and only read it by daylight. There is horror that goes above and beyond jump scare. Those are the books that I want to talk with you about today because I think they are perfect for people who usually don't like to watch those scary horror movies where chainsaws are hunting you. Again, I don't watch those, so I don't know what's actually happening in those movies. But instead, they're dealing with humanity, with psychology, or just with weird situations and how humans would handle them. So I've put together a couple of recommendations that I think would be interesting, that I've enjoyed over the last months and years, starting with, well, my favorite subgenre, which is psychological horror. And as part of that subgenre, we're starting with one of my favorite authors of that subgenre, which is Stephen King, the king of horror. And I know, he is mostly known for that jump scare type stuff with weird clowns and balloons, and again, I haven't read it or watched it, so I actually don't really know what's happening there, but it's creepy. That's all I know. But King is also amazing when it comes to writing what's going on in someone's head. And two of my favorite books by him that deal with exactly that are The Long Walk and Roadwork. So let's start with The Long Walk. As the name of the book says, this book is literally about a long walk. This is more a dystopian novel. We live in a world where 16-year-old boys can join the long walk, and the last person standing, literally standing, I mean not being dead, has a free wish. And we are following Ray as he is getting started for this walk. And you are stuck in his head and you're observing the long walk and what's happening throughout from his point of view, which is super interesting because you see them suffer, right? They're literally not allowed to stop. They have to walk till they fall over dead. So you're watching him, makes friends with the people around him, talks with them, you experience his own suffering, and it's not an easy read because there is some gruesome stuff happening in here. The other one by Stephen King is Roadwork, which is considered one of the most boring books by him. If you look at reviews, I find it super fascinating because it's about a guy who, it's super normal. He lives a normal life, kind of boring really, and you're again stuck in his head and you're observing as he goes bonkers about something rather minor happening in the town he's living in and how he's dealing with that. And it's incredibly fascinating to see someone so utterly normal go crazy over the period of, I think it's just a couple of days actually in the book. Another great book or set of books really that deals with psychological horror is Baby Teeth by Zoe Stage, and the novella that is following it, which is Dear Hannah, that was just released a couple of weeks ago. Baby Teeth is about a young girl, Hannah, who doesn't talk, thus has difficulties communicating with her mother. And the fascinating thing about this book is you get both point of views, the daughter and the mother, and you're seeing what they are actually trying to accomplish. And then when you switch POVs, you see how it is understood. So it's an incredibly fascinating study on communication issues as simply as that, because the daughter doesn't talk, she communicates through very different means, and the mother is not understanding. Till it kind of escalates to a point where you can say, okay, there's more than just communication issues with the child. There's some sociopathic kind of tendencies there as well. And then how the family reacts after this escalation. Dear Hannah is the sequel where the girl that we met in Baby Teeth is now grown up. She's in her early 20s and she now has an adult life. She has a husband, she has a stepkid. She kind of figured out how to read people and how to communicate better. But then something happens that puts cracks into her facade that she has so carefully built. It's not as creepy as Baby Teeth. It's not as extreme as Baby Teeth. But it's, again, very fascinating because you're in her head and you're watching as she is going through the situation and you're getting her perspective of that. The next category that I want to talk about is cosmic horror. What that means is that you deal with kind of Lovecraftian eldritch creatures, aka ginormous tentacles things with gazillion eyes, but I'm taking a little bit of a leap actually with that category for this book, which is Rouge by Mona Award, which is a top contender for a favorite book of the year for me. Rouge is about a young girl that is moving back to California to take care of the household of her just recently deceased mother, and it's supposed to be a really quick job, cleaning up the house, talking with some of her friends, and just taking care of a couple of things and then leaving. But somehow she is not feeling the urge to leave, even though the relationship with her mother was kind of weird, and weird things are happening. Not in the sense of, oh, ghosty, spooky vibes and, creepy music in the background, not that kind of stuff, but just there's a feeling and there's a vibe of don't leave. And then it moves towards a direction, which is why I put it into that cosmic horror category, where you just sit there and like, this is so weird. How cool is this? I love weird stuff, right? I love when seemingly normal things all of a sudden walk into a direction that has nothing to do with reality anymore. The nice thing about Rouge is it's doing that in a rather soft and mellow manner. So it's not, again, like there's a monster jumping out of the closet at you, but the reveal is still very interesting and has a very, Lovecraftian vibe to it. Next category I want to jump into is kind of horror with paranormal elements. Again, not in the, oh my god, there are ghosts everywhere and it's just spooky, creepy type of vibes, but in a very mellow and definitely Scaredy Cat approved type of way. Starting with Delicate Condition by Danielle Valentine, which is a Rosemary retelling. This is about a young woman who is trying to get pregnant. She went through multiple rounds of IVFs already. So far, all unsuccessful. The other thing you need to know about her, she just recently became somewhat famous. She's an actress. The vibe definitely is angsty in the sense of mother that wants to be a mother, but somehow couldn't make it work so far. But the last round of IVF is finally working. She got pregnant. The problem now is that due to her being now suddenly famous in that movie, she now has a stalker that keeps pinging her and telling her things, and weird things are happening. So she decides to reduce stress and make sure that pregnancy is working. She's moving with her husband to a beach house. That beach house belongs to a friend. And just stay calm there and just stay the pregnancy there and don't get freaked out about any of that actor stuff or the stalker stuff or anything else that is kind of weirdly happening around her till, unfortunately, she's not pregnant anymore and she loses the baby, followed by 3 days of devastating grief on her side till she starts to feel kicking in her belly again. It's like, wait a second, am I still pregnant? And then the story continues from there. It definitely takes some creepy turns, and there are moments where this Scaredy Cat here definitely had to put the book down and be like, okay, maybe I'll stop for today and I continue tomorrow. So this is, from that kind of creepy vibe aspect, definitely one of the more extreme ones that I'm talking about today. But then the reveal was the best thing ever. I was yelling. That's how excited I was at the end of this book. It's such a cool twist, like through all this creepiness that this book takes you, and then that was the reveal. It was so cool. It was so well done. I highly recommend this book just for the journey. Like, this roller coaster ride throughout the book was so well done. The twists and turns and all the alleyways the author is taking you down was so well done. And then that reveal. I mean, that has to be one of the best reveals that I've read in a horror thriller type of book. Hands down. Another book that falls into the paranormal kind of fantasy horror category is Such Sharp Teeth. I cannot say it. It's the 5th time that I'm trying this now. We're just rolling with it. By Rachel Harrison, which is a werewolf book. This is about a young girl who is moving back to her hometown because she wants to assist her pregnant sister, but she kind of went there reluctantly. She is not really a fan of the hometown, but you know, it's her sister, so she is helping her. And on her first night out, she goes into a bar, just, you know, relaxing. It's like, ugh, this is my life, I guess. And on her way home, she ends up in a huge accident and a ginormous animal attacks her. Surprise, surprise, it was a werewolf. And we are following her as she is starting to turn and as she is realizing what she is now or what happened to her and how she deals with it, how she hides it from family members, how she just adjusts to that life. It's a little bit of this, hey, I'm in your head and you're following this person as she is going through like a really weird situation. But it's also a lot about relationships and dealing with past trauma and working through that. So there are some really interesting scenes in here that just from that aspect have nothing to do with horror, just relationship aspects that are really well done in here. A side note, if you're queasy on body horror, there is a very little bit in here when it comes to her turning and like something going on with her wounds, just FYI. Just because you scare easily doesn't mean you should not read horror books, and I hope one of these books sounded interesting to you if you are a scaredy cat. Is there a horror book that you think I should add to the list? Something that is great for scaredy cats, for wimps, whatever you want to call us people who scare easily. Let us know down in the comments. And if you want to see more wacky recommendations like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for being here. I hope I'll see you soon with my next video. Until then, have a great rest of your day. Bye!